And I want to start as well, maybe a little introduction. First you, and then I introduce myself, and I announce that we have a special guest, and then okay. Are we online?
Yep. Hi guys, welcome. Thank you for joining. Today let's just start over really quick.
Okay.
Hi guys, thank you for joining. My name is Amanda Armagost, and this is Essence of Life. Today we are talking about emerging India.
I'm Dr. Abbasi for Essence, and today I'm really happy to have a special guest here. The title of our podcast today is Emerging India. And the way we came to that is that we were trying to do something in a hospital in Texas. A good surgeon friend of mine sent an email complaining that it takes so long, that in the time that they needed to do that, India landed a spacecraft on the moon. So it's my pleasure to introduce Akshay Gupta. Dr. Gupta is a neurosurgeon. Please, Akshay, introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Basi. Thank you, Amanda, for having me today. My name is Dr. Akshay Gupta. I'm a neurosurgeon. I'm fortunate to have been trained here in Minneapolis, where we are today, at the University of Minnesota. I've been practicing in Texas for the last 5 years. Looking to expand my horizon now and working with the community back in India again, and trying to be with my family there and do some good work there. At the same time, expand with some team efforts with Dr. Basi, and looking forward to future collaborations.
I'm really proud and I'm really happy to have you, actually. But you described something that has happened in the last 10 to 20 years. That is the back immigration from people who are trained in the United States. Amanda broke something, everybody.
Far away.
So this is a new trend that highly educated people like yourself, who came from India, China, and other countries, there is a trend to move back.
Right.
That has never, ever happened. And it happened not for every country. It happens especially for China and India.
Yeah.
Now, I want to know a little about, you're a highly accomplished surgeon here in the United States, and you could go almost anywhere in the United States and you can work here and you can have a very good life. Number one, if you don't mind, I want to go a little through your history about how you got here. Tell me a little about your education back in India, and then educate us a little about what your history was before you moved to the United States.
So I've been fortunate to have well-educated parents who've always reinforced the value of educating oneself and pushing yourself to the next level from an academic perspective. So they are the ones who drove me towards getting the best education that I could get. And I went on to pursue medicine in India. I did my medical schooling in India. And after my med school, I decided to come to the United States for further education, including public health education, as well as further training in clinical medicine, which I did. So my background was primarily in general medicine, which I completed in India, and then pursued my further residency training in neurosurgery in the US.
Yeah.
I think the opportunities for someone...
May I ask you how old you were when you finished the high school, finished the med school, and so on?
Yeah, I think good question. I was at the age of 22 when I finished medical school.
Wow.
Yeah. And back then, and I think that's pretty close to what most people are, give or take a year or two. And so that was young enough to expand my wings and decided to come to the United States and for better opportunities. And with the support of my parents, with the support of my friends and family, I was able to accomplish that. And you obviously have to take a few tests to get to where and retrain yourself and train yourself to enter the medical system in the United States. And I did those. And it's been nothing but a blast. I think the quality of higher education, I would say, in the United States is tremendous. I think the hands-on training, the level of expertise, the resources available, the technological advancements and access to those technological advancements is tremendous as the United States leads the world in it. And to me, acquiring that skill set, acquiring the resources to enable myself to become one of the, to apply that to my patient population has been a blessing.
Yeah.
And to be able to now use this and take it back to the community in India is what I think drives the whole, my passion. India is home for me, and my parents are there, and I'd like to reach out to the community and work with them, and also spend time with my family back in India. However, I still feel like the world is now global yet local.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter where you live, doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
You could still work in one place, you could live in another place, you could work in a third place. And I think because the world has become such small, I would like to establish myself and become a transcontinental surgeon.
Yes, that's a good name. Let's use it, transcontinental surgeon. We are going to trademark that.
Yeah.
Now, there is something that I have heard often, and I want to dissect that. And I think it's no different for Persian versus Indian. That people say, oh, Persians are all the best educated people. As a matter of fact, the Persian people in United States diaspora have the highest number of university degrees and so on and so forth. And people say Persians are smart and so on, or Pakistanis are smart, Indians are smart. I think people all over the world are equally smart, but there is a difference. All the well-educated and smartest people from Iran moved to the United States. Everybody who could moved, because it's not an easy process to move. You have to have resources, you have to be smart, you have to be at the level that you can go through all this burden. And make no mistake, the United States is benefiting from that. For a long time, the whole world created people, the smartest, the most ambitious, most motivated of them went through all the hurdle and came to the United States. Now, as American, I think it's for us scary that these people who came to us, we educated them, they used to stay here, benefit us, now they're moving back.
I was thinking the same thing when you said that, because it's never been that people come to the United States and then, in my view, it's always been the goal to come to the United States and to have, like you said, better opportunities, better life. So what does that mean for us if people are coming here, but then moving back home, which is pretty common?
And this is good for the rest of the world, though.
Yeah.
I mean, we just discussed when we were getting a coffee that the quality of life has become pretty good. And that is, I think, what people care about. They care about the quality of life. Now, so you finished your med school at the young age of 22. And then did you come to US right away?
I did. I came right away. I practiced, or I completed my graduate program in public health at the University of Minnesota. And then I started my clinical training in general surgery and then neurosurgery. So it was an early age.
Yeah. When did you start your neurosurgery? How old were you when you started your neurosurgery residency?
You can add another 4 or 5 years to that.
Yeah.
But I think it was, again, a fairly young age, which I think is close to, because of the public health program, I think I was close to the average neurosurgery resident age in the United States. It's coming back to what you guys were pointing out before is, we talk about reverse brain drain. It's like brain drain is when people leave their country, go somewhere else. We call it reverse brain drain is people heading back. I think the opportunities, especially in India, I can talk about India because that's what that's my home, is tremendous. India has emerged, is now almost the next superpower. The kind of advancements I see, the resources that are being pumped into the system, the need for people to want to be the next, the next man up and be, do something good and provide the resources for that, and people valuing those quality. I think all of us, helps that for the entire nation to grow.
Yeah.
So overall, the opportunities are starting to become, massive.
Mhm.
I think it's opportunities not just for me who actually once has been from there and considers that as home, but for someone in the United States that has trained here, has lived here.
Yeah.
That's an opportunity for someone like them to actually go and practice in India too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I wouldn't necessarily limit it to, okay, these are the only, homegrown people who want to go back. I think it's an opportunity for the entire world to step in India and nations like
Benefit
India
from the
and benefit
market,
from them.
from emerging market. Yes.
Because the community will also benefit from them, the expertise, the level of technology that's available here.
Mhm.
There's a couple of hospitals that I know that have the technology, but they don't have the right people to use the technology.
Right.
Isn't it the opposite, right? Most
Yeah.
surgeons here, we would ask for a certain piece of technology, and then we have to go to the bureaucracy of the hospital system to acquire the technology down the line. It's sometimes the opposite in India. They have the technology, but they don't have the right people who train. So I think, it's just a place where we could go and the entire world can go and expand and
Yeah, and-
do a lot.
And I think most of the people should know that India is the largest democracy, true democracy in the world. I mean, democracy is always messy. And a country of 1.4 billion people, I can imagine that the democracy there is even messier than our democracy here in the United States. But what makes it different in India to China is a democracy is more or less is something we know, we appreciate, we can deal with. It's predictable in a way that at the end of the day, it is not the mood of one person or another, one party or another that dictate the future. And I think for a long time, lots of people, like in lots of books that I have read, they were comparing China and India, and they were saying, where is the better place to invest? And they were concerned about that the messiness of the Indian, business way of doing business, corruption, and so on and so forth. But what they didn't consider is that is how the democracy is. It's messy. Democracy is made of people, and people are not always the best. But putting it all together, the average wisdom of people is what drives the democracy forward. And in the long run, it's more predictable than a one-party system. So in most of the book that I have been reading, China is stagnating, actually. That is, the census is that, especially now that Xi Jinping got again elected or made himself be elected for the third time, that the China is moving a little back in the Mao kind of way that it becomes. So people are picking up in a lots of ways, two areas of the world, India and Africa,
right?
yes, as a
Absolutely.
truly emerging and growing market. So I totally see how you're very subtly advertising India. Yes, we are open for business. Come here, and we do want to come and do business there.
Well, we will.
We will.
Right. I mean, 1.4 billion people. That's a lot
Yeah,
of people.
that's a lot of
Most
people.
states in India have populations that are more than countries in Europe.
Yeah,
Right. So it's like running an individual country as running an individual state in India. So it's got to have its own challenges to do
oh,
that,
yeah,
right?
absolutely.
But I think that the if you look at in general the picture of India 20 years ago and now is way different.
Yeah.
Technology wise, even Google Pay, as simple as UPI, we call it Google Pay.
Mhm.
A local vendor who's selling, I don't know, fruits by the roadside has a QR code available. And so I don't even carry my wallet when I go out
India?
in India. All I need
Wow.
is my phone that's charged up that has the Google Pay app.
Yeah.
And even if it's a single 2 rupee or 3
Yeah.
rupee, which is like few cents, it's a QR code that I use and they accept the transfer, which is unbelievable. And the whole country has adopted that. And they're moving at a pace technology-wise that's, I think, faster than most countries. So I think even when you talk about the challenges about having bureaucracy or corruption and stuff, I think that's still changing. I think that's changing for the good. And where we were 20 years back, 10 years back, and where we're now, where we're heading now, I think it's just adds to say that there's even more potential. And there's certain parts that are untapped, which is where I think healthcare is untapped, which I think we can bring not only someone who's like me, who's trained here and wants to probably do some good work back then, but even for foreign nationals, for foreign corporations, or even, NGOs, everyone, to do some good amount of work, because there's a lot of need, there's a volume to support that,
Mhm.
and now there's demand.
Right.
What I noticed that, among Indian or the subcontinent, there are tremendous amount of skills
Mhm.
that, they say the necessity is the root of
Mother of invention, right?
mother of invention. And, and what like I have followed many of the surgeons, I have talked to many people, they are extremely skilled. Like you were saying that some of the surgeons, they do 6 surgery before noon. I mean, that would be impossible here in the United States, but they are extremely efficient. And considering they don't have all our tools,
Mhm, mhm.
and they are still this efficient. And I think what is very important, even though they don't have our resources, they are making up for those resources
Mhm.
by their skills, by their and I think the new technologies is a big deal. That I'm really happy to hear that you go and on the side of the road, you can just pay with your Google Pay and
Yep.
with your phone.
Yep.
Do you know what kind of opportunities this open for small business to become mid-sized business, to become bigger business? These were entry points that weren't available when I was growing up. When you were born poor, you would stay poor. That was the status quo. But now you had just all you need to have is a cell phone to connect to other business people, to be able to do commerce and so on. And I think that pace, as you described that, is going to pick up.
Yeah.
It's going to pick up tremendously. Something that I was shocked and elated when you told me about how much you paid for your business. We don't need to tell the number, but that is comparable actually with any major cities in Mumbai, right?
Yes.
You paid in Mumbai for your the office that you just bought. You paid as much as anybody would pay in any major city in the United States. Now, that is a little, this took me back. Now, so you have to pay for the real estate in that place as much as I pay here in the United States. But on the other side, that tells where economy of India is.
Right, that shows that there's a demand for it, if it's able
And
to be
people
priced
are
so
able
high.
to afford that.
Right,
Right. I think so. I think people are heading in the right direction. I think there's from an economic perspective, everybody is doing well, and obviously there are businesses that struggle too. But you get the right niche, you get the right demand, you're doing good work, honest work. There's always demand for more because the volume supports it. The one thing that was interesting that you talked about, and you touched on it, saying how the surgeons are skilled and a lot of people get things done. There's a word for that in India. It's called jugaad.
Jugaad,
Jugaad. Jugaad means just get it done.
just get it done.
Like
Figure it out.
Hey, that's the second thing we are going to trademark. We are going to track transcontinental surgeon
And jugaad.
and jugaad.
right it here.
Yeah. How would you spell it in English if you would write it?
Jugaad. Jugaad.
Jugaad.
Just- which means you figure it out. So if
Yeah.
this is the resources
Hey.
that you have, and you have to accomplish something,
Yeah.
you figure it out. So these are the tools. These are the limited tools that you have in certain hospital. Well, you don't have an option. There's a patient on the table that you need to get it done, and we all do that. I mean, as surgeons, we have a plan A, plan B, plan C.
That is
that
getting lost
technical.
though. That is in United States getting lost. I tell you why, but go on.
Yeah, so but we do it in day-to-day life, right?
Yeah.
We try not to do that. We try to have plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, because someday, one fine day, things don't go our way and we don't have the right tools, or maybe something is misplaced or not available, but we still tend to figure it out. And if you're doing it, that is more of, that should be the norm, obviously, that should be, but you have to have a skill set, you have to have a mindset to think out of the box to figure it out at the spur of the moment. That is jugaad. Like, how do I get it done?
I love that
All right.
word.
So I
That is
think
how I
there's a
live
lot of it.
90% of my life.
It literally is, yeah.
Right, how do you
At
get it?
2 a.m. They love those 2 a.m. I say emails, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do that, but that is it, you know.
So now this, where do you think, where was the turning point? Because India was, I have looked at the statistic. India has the highest number of the people under the poverty guideline of the United Nations, but they really turned around. What do you think? What year or when was the time, and what was the policy or what was the effort that really turned it around to bringing India here?
I think it's multiple levels. I think the government is responsible for that. The prime minister that we have right now, Prime Minister Modi, has been tremendous for the country. There's certain struggles, nobody denies that. But at the same time, I think there's a large young population, and which is an earning population, and they're wanting to be the next level. Nobody now wants to become, I guess nobody never really wants to become a janitor, but not that, I think even the janitor's son now thinks, I want to become a corporate leader.
Mhm.
The expansion of the thought process towards I can be the next.
It's a gold rush.
It's a goal.
They're more driven.
Yes, and I can achieve that. And what the government has done is they've made things available for the lower class, and they've tried to give the similar resources in terms of education, different programs.
Education.
So even a janitor's son can now afford to get a decent education and can think of dreaming big,
Right.
to saying, I can tap into this. And if I'm tap into this, I can become a software engineer, I can join a startup, and I can become the next Uber. That dream we're not, people are not dreaming that before, but now everybody dreams that, which pushes everyone to work harder and wanting to be that. And having a tremendous amount of young population is the key.
Obviously helps.
Obviously
Obviously
helps.
helps.
So I think that is all why everything is changing.
Now, I know that you guys have some universities that are at par with highest places. Like there was a technical university.
IIT, which is
Yeah.
called the Indian Institute of Technology.
This
and
is right
it's-
at par with MIT, and that there are lots of exchanges and so on. So the skill, the intelligent, the young people with motivation exist. And in the United States, unfortunately, I have sometimes the feeling that we sometimes our dreams are not really at par with the younger population in other countries. Like I have the feeling that we have a little bit of a stagnation of dream in our motivation to get to a bigger, like dreaming really big. Okay, I'm here, but I want to be somewhere else. I think lots of those the young people, when you have the gold rush mentality that say opportunities are there, they're willing to work really hard. Now, don't take me wrong on that, but I hear a lot of what is work-life balance and so on.
Mhm.
Many times when I hear that, it is about that I want to earn a lot, but I really don't want to work hard. And unfortunately, I see a lot of this younger folks here. They want to get rich fast without really working for that. But what I see in lots of these emerging, like emerging India and other countries, is that there's this population of young people that are not afraid to invest their whole life in something that they believe in. So, and that is, for me, actually makes me extremely happy, because we talked about that. I would love to expand to India with our technique, what we are doing. Okay, that is a strong India is a strong business partner. Make no mistake, though, for some very old-fashioned people, they're afraid of having strong other countries, and they're afraid that you're going to lose a business to them and so on. But I think this emerging India is going to play a much bigger role in the next 10 or 20 years. Now, what do you think? What are the big things you think is going to happen in India in the next 5 to 10 years?
Are we talking from a healthcare perspective?
Both economy, country, healthcare, and as well, I would love to have your take on BRICS and on the BRICS. You know, you're familiar with the
Yeah,
BRICS.
right.
So, what do you think? Where is India heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think from a global level, people talk about India as a developing country. I think we're already developed at that point.
Mhm.
That we're no longer what we're now like the 5th or 6th largest economy, which is not it wasn't the case in the past. I think it's just we talk about the international space programs, the different programs that are being conducted, from a sports perspective, from economy perspective, transportation, everything. I think there's a boom. And I think, and from a goodwill perspective, let me bring a different perspective. Goodwill perspective. I know there's a lot of unrest around the world that's going on right now,
Yep.
and always goes on. And so India's always partnered with the intention of bringing goodwill to no matter what side is suffering, and trying to uplift their people, because ultimately you want everybody to be at peace and do well.
Mhm.
So they've always invested in infrastructure in other countries and trying to bring up their people and bring partnerships. I think from a global partner standpoint, I can see India is heading that way. From a healthcare perspective, when you talk about what's the as I see closely now the Indian scenario, there are corporates coming up, multi-city hospital corporate organizations coming up, but also I see centers of excellence that will have to be emerging, which if you have a knee replacement center of excellence, I can see people all over the country coming, and that would be almost like a small city doing all they're doing is knee replacements, for be it straightforward ones to complex ones to revisions, and having an entire army of people are surrounding that disease pathology to give you the best outcome, the best recovery.
Yeah.
I see that happening. And I think not only in India, but it's also happening in the United States, right?
Yeah.
You have, stroke, centers for stroke, for rehab and for cardiology and cardiac care. I see that similarly happening in India. There are centers for, eye, ophthalmology and so forth right now.
Mhm.
But I think that is where India or healthcare is heading towards.
Mhm.
And that's an opportunity, I think, for all.
For
No,
sure.
you please go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, think of that large population. If there's these centers of excellence,
Mhm.
all the children and all of that younger community is gonna be growing up and seeing these centers of excellence and having the ideas and bringing new technology and things like that. So it definitely will benefit the rest of the world.
So how is the healthcare in India is organized? It just run me a little through that. People who are in the United States, we have like Medicare, Medicaid, government insurances that when you're older, you're in it. Most of the people have their health insurance through their work and so on.
Yeah.
And so, and we have a good understanding how it works here, but
Right.
how is it in India,
So,
the healthcare organized?
And that's changing as well. I think maybe about 5 or 10 years ago, primarily was out of pocket private pay. And now I think the economies and people are changing towards insurance-based payments. So there's more of that coming up, where insurance companies and own your own companies providing you with health insurance, which people can afford and now get benefited from. But primarily it's out of pocket pay,
Yeah.
which is why
Is it still out of pocket?
it is primarily, because if you consider mass population that lives still in the rural areas, that's still people still are paying out of their pocket, which is not quite affordable to most. So then it's a competitive market to do good work. But at the same time, I think that's where the jugaad term comes in, right? You don't have a lot of resources. How do you still get them better? How do you do that? So I think there are government programs to help them, but it is changing. It is.
Yeah, there's some problem in United States that I think, and the problem in United States is you get 5% more value, but you have to pay $2 million to get that. Like you get a big machine that helps you in the war for something and so on, a navigation machine, a robot and so on. Just the maintenance fees for that is like $1 million a year. Okay, so and that is where I think that the skills come in play, and that is what I wanted to talk to, that there is a problem. We do have a problem in the United States. The healthcare has become really more and more expensive because somebody comes with the idea that this machine is good or this method is good and so on, and that costs us another $1 million, another $2 million. It becomes almost unaffordable, but then the industry pushes for that. That becomes, in their mind, standard of care, and that's what you have to do. Like, you know, I was just recently in a conference. They have a new method of doing surgery that it requires 5 pieces of equipment, each of them $1 million with a $300,000 maintenance fee annually and so on. Whereas when I was there, I showed them in the set, I said, all you see here, just a small tray, is all you need to do this surgery. And by the way, that surgery, I'm talking about the Olive procedure, is all you need is a handful of set of instrument and skills. And I think that comes in an emerging market like yours even more handy because skills, I'm repeating myself, are there already. And you don't need to have a $5 million robot to perform the surgery. And especially if you have to do 6 surgeries to survive in a day, you know, those additional instruments, they just add more to your
More cost to the.
cost and
Right.
time.
Right, I mean, you bring up an important point. You have to be cost mindful. No matter what country you're in,
Yeah.
whether it's United States or India or anywhere, you have to be mindful and avoid waste of resources. I think that every surgery, like every skill set, every technique has the right tools that you need. You can always overdo them, and you can always underutilize some. But I think there's a balance that has to be achieved. What's hard for us to see as doctors, as surgeons, is when that balance is disrupted by management authorities or by regulatory insurance authorities that say you have to do this in order for this. And that's the balancing. Oh, I don't need to,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Or sometimes, the minimum is you need to do is this. And you're
Do
like,
you have more freedom as a doctor in India than you have here? Or tell me about your work as a doctor in India.
I think so. I do think from a regulatory standpoint, I wouldn't say freedom is the right word, but there's different way of working. I know a lot of surgeons have their own instrument trays and that they carry from place to place because the hospital itself is not equipped to carry so many instruments or don't have the capacity, which is a burden on the surgeon to bring their own instruments and operate and take them back and keep them processed and so forth, which is not the typical case in the United States. So that's.
But I would love to do that in the United States because, I know
But
what
you think doing it for every day for every case, you would try to.
Yeah, I know it's a burden. It sounds like a burden, but that many times I have been in situations that what I need, exactly what I need, it's not there. And whereas, I'm not even allowed to bring my own instrument.
Right.
Okay, it used to be when I started, I could actually bring my own instrument. Now they make a big fuss about if I bring my own instrument, it has to get approval from here and there and bring this paperwork, that paperwork. It's just a piece of metal. That's all what it is.
I think India is maybe 15 years behind in that process. I think they will.
I think
Yes, they will.
So
They will.
there is an evil administration will rise as well in India.
Globally, you cannot stop management no matter where you are. I think it will get there, but as of now, you can see surgeons carry their instruments.
Yeah.
The bigger hospitals, corporate hospitals, have their own set of instruments. You don't have the need to do that, but I can see where that's heading.
Yeah. No.
Don't give them ideas. Don't give.
No.
Cut that out.
Right. You told me about this different category. Like I can tell you in Germany, everybody has insurance, but then some people have a different level of insurance and they get the most experienced surgeon doing surgery on them. They get a private room and so on. So that system actually exists even now, even in the most socialized medicine in Germany. But I want to know a little detail about, this different level of service you get in the Indian
So
system.
if I have to give you an example, if you do a lumbar fusion operation in India, there are levels and a decent hospital, there are levels of admissions, which is a general admission, a semi-private, a private, a deluxe, super deluxe, some people call it hyper deluxe, whatever you can name it.
Oh, wow, so many levels.
Right, and that depends on the kind of room that you get, the kind of help that you get, the kind of nursing, I wouldn't say care, but the facilities, you may have this deluxe room may have place for your entire family to stay overnight, accompany you there with the room, and that's the additional resource that's being available as space. Whereas a general ward you may need to share the bed with, or not the bed, but share the room with other.
Well,
patients.
that would be a different level.
Yeah, share the room with different patients because of lack of space, with curtains and stuff, which used to be, not a very old
They
thing.
do that here too.
Right.
Yeah.
But then the price point for each of those changes and the insurance level changes for each of them too.
Mhm.
So, but I think it's not a bad thing. I think, what it allows is it allows all tiers of society, economic.
Yeah.
Make
Layers,
choices for their
making
economic
choices
level.
that they can afford and yet get the care that they deserve.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean,
The quality of care doesn't change, right? It's just, you're still the same surgeon,
Correct.
same procedure.
Correct. I think what changes is, what different, resources that could be afforded for that care, or, that kind of changes.
but that is not much different, people who can afford, they go to surgeons who are more experienced and this is, I think the reality is when you're in a free market, you should just accept that if you have more resources, if you are willing to spend more money on your healthcare, you're just going to get a better service. That is all what it is. And in a free market, you just have to come to peace with that it's a service and somebody's going to pay for that. And if you are willing to pay more for your service, you're just going to get a better service, like having a first class or business class flight and so on. Now, we don't get upset about that the business class, they get a bigger seat.
Mhm.
But just as soon as somebody says, somebody want to afford a better, kind of instrument, better service, and so on. In the United States, people get very emotional about that. But the reality is, though, that more or less it's the same in the United States. We just don't define it as in hospitals. We don't have those.
Classification.
Yeah, we
we
don't
did.
have this
I
classification.
thought we did do that at the Maple Grove Hospital for maternity. Like, I thought if you wanted to pay more, you could have a huge private suite,
Mhm.
where if you just paid the standard, then you got a normal room.
Yeah, I mean, I still remember in many of the places that I have been practicing, they had double room and so on. But in most of places, actually, they got rid of
Yeah.
it
Mhm.
because of the stigma was
Privacy
thing.
and-
Yeah,
Yeah.
stigma
I think-
attached to that.
Yeah, I think, but you have to. It's the population is so large,
Mhm.
not everybody's affordable, but you still want to get even the
Yeah,
non-affordable taken care of. So you do the best you can to accommodate that, I guess.
Now, we did a study on, the income and growth of the economy
Mhm,
in India. India was pretty much on top with the growth.
mhm.
It have one of the highest growth. Like China was very high
Sure.
for a long time. They're plateauing.
Mhm,
There are some other emerging markets, including India, that are really actually they're speeding up, and some African country and so on. So for everybody, if you have a fantastic idea and you want to expand, I think for the next 10 to 15 years, India is the right place to be.
Until the admin comes.
Until the admin comes, exactly.
Excellent.
Well, I think, that this was a very good conversation. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thank you for having me,
actually.
and it was fun, and
looking forward towards collaborating with you in India and here in the US and transcontinental collaboration.
Yeah.
Right,
And you
transcontinental.
know, on my blog, I have a lot of Indian followers.
Yeah, you do.
So please put it on my blog on
I will.
Facebook. And if in India, if anybody in India need a neurosurgeon, what is the name of your practice?
Ekvira Neuro.
Ekvira Neuro. What's the location? Give us a little
It's
information.
going to be in Mumbai and Pune, which is
Mumbai and
bigger
Pune.
cities. And
So we get the link to your webpage
Yep.
and so on, and we'll put it on our thing and make sure that this podcast makes it to neurosurgery case review.
Thanks,
So
Charlie.
yeah, thanks, Charlie. And then people can click on the button and get to Equiron Neuro.
yeah, absolutely.
well,
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys. This was Essence of Life, and we talked about emerging India. I'm Amanda Armagast.
For Essence, this is Dr. Abbasi and our guest.
Dr. Akshay Gupte. Thank you.